this plant. Hi everyone, me again. I hope you've all had a really nice Easter weekend and you're all keeping well and safe during this really uncertain time. But one really good thing that I absolutely love that has come out of this is that more and more parents have decided to switch to reusable nappies. Partly because disposable nappies are disappearing from the shelves slightly quicker than parents would like, but I still think it's a really, really good thing. I have a lot of content that I would like to kind of get out and share about different types of nappies and how to wash them, really simple routines like that. But I think what's important now before I get into that is to kind of do some myth busting. There are a lot of myths going around that cloth nappies are really hard to maintain and they're a lot of work, they're really messy, they're expensive. I'm just gonna bust all of the really big ones and hopefully this will kind of help parents to feel a bit more reassured when they make this switch. Got my handle notes. So I think the biggest myth about cloth nappies is that they are way more expensive than disposable nappies. So to an extent, this is true. If you are buying all of your cloth nappies new from a supplier, then upfront cost can be expensive. You're probably looking at around anything between £100 to £300. It kind of depends on the type of nappy you're buying. Some nappies are more expensive than others, but yeah, maximum cost could be around £300. However, let's now do some maths if you're using disposable nappies. Say you're using just a standard disposable, like own brand supermarket nappy, like really cheap. So the weekly cost of that can be between £4 to £5, which means that if you're using disposable nappies up until your child is potty trained, so for about 2 to 5 years, you could be spending about 650 quid on disposable nappies. Yeah. You could be halving that cost just by switching to cloth. There are also a lot of ways that you can actually reduce the cost of cloth nappies, like very easily. One thing you can do is just get them secondhand. Most of my nappies that I've got are secondhand from mums off Facebook or from cloth nappy events that I've gone to where they've just donated their nappies so you can get them for free. Yeah, that usually halves the cost even further and just makes nappies even cheaper. Cloth nappies have a lot of life left in them, so if you buy them secondhand, they're still going to be amazing, they're still going to be absorbent, and as long as you wash them properly, then they will last for years. Also, if you happen to have a friend or a relative that's using cloth nappies, just take those. Another really good thing that I think is starting to increase in number is what's called a cloth nappy library. Cloth nappy libraries are amazing. They're basically just parents who have had masses of nappies donated and want to lend them out to new parents like you. What you're doing is just renting a bundle of nappies for maybe a few weeks or a few months or even just up until your child is potty trained. These nappies will also be secondhand, so that can also reduce the cost. There's this really amazing organisation called the UK Nappy Network, which kind of is an amazing resource and brings together everyone who's running a cloth nappy library. They also have a very handy Google map. If you go to their website and you just put in your postcode, you can find your nearest cloth nappy library and you can get in touch with the people there. I will link below. Cloth nappies are not more expensive than disposables. They are actually way, way cheaper in the long run. And then also, if you have another baby, then you can just use the same nappies as you did with your first child and slash the cost even more. It's just a win-win situation, guys. I think the next biggest myth is that cloth nappies are messier than disposable nappies. When I say messier, I think a lot of parents kind of complain about the pre-weaned poo situation. There's a lot of newborn explosions that aren't easily contained. I think also parents have in their head that they need to do a lot of work to keep their nappies clean and they have to deal with poo way more often than disposables. So actually that's kind of two myths, which is that they're a lot more work in terms of washing and that they're way messier. So I'm just going to kind of talk about them both. In terms of putting nappies in the washing, I like to think of it as literally 10 minutes of my life that I dedicate to doing a wash, and I probably do a wash about twice a week. So about 20 minutes in a week is I'm just doing this. In each wash, that's literally putting the nappies onto wash, then taking a few minutes to hang them up to dry, and a couple of minutes putting them back in their box. Also, don't need to get expensive items to wash your nappies. You can literally just use a non-bio powder detergent. A simple non-bio detergent is actually the best thing to clean your nappies, so you don't have to make a dent in your bank account to keep them clean. Now moving on to the messy bit, specifically thinking about babies under 6 months old, where there are definite poo explosions and it's very liquidy, and this doesn't really change whether you're in cloth or disposables. If your baby has pooed in a cloth nappy, you actually don't really need to do anything extra to make sure it's clean. Newborn poo is actually water soluble, so it can go in the washing machine. You don't have to do any rinsing, don't have to soak it or anything. Soaking is actually kind of bad for cloth nappies because then they're just sitting in urine and poo for a really long time. That's not good. Now that I have a 1-year-old, my son has very solid poo, and literally all I need to do is flick the poo into the toilet and then put the nappy in the washing machine. Job done. I think a lot of parents believe that they don't need to take that extra step with disposable nappies, but actually that's not true. If you look at the government's Health Act, hazardous waste, it's illegal to put it in the bin, and human waste is actually classed as a hazardous waste. So even if you're in disposables, you actually have to kind of do the same thing. You have to get rid of the worst of the poo before you put your disposable nappy in the bin. So it's exactly the same experience, except instead of then putting your nappy in the bin, you put it in the wash. So it's not that cloth nappies are messier, it's that all babies are messy at some point in their lives, and whether they're in cloth or disposable, it's kind of the same. And then with washing, you really don't need to do much. It's very low maintenance and a really simple routine. I'm definitely going to do another video about my washing routine just so you can see how simple it is. Another really big myth is that cloth nappies are less absorbent and therefore don't last as long as disposables on babies. There are two things here that I'd like to talk about. First of all, disposable nappies have set the bar way too high in terms of long lasting on baby's bum. I think one disposable nappy manufacturer said that you were supposed to have used about 4.2 nappies during the day on your baby. Where is the 0.2? Here in cloth or disposables, you need to change your baby as regularly as possible in order to avoid nappy rash. When you have a newborn, this should be about 2 to 3 hours, and if you have a slightly older baby, about 4 to 5 hours. That's kind of how often I change my son. Another thing is that the reason disposables last as long as they do is because they have chemicals in them, and chemicals are not very good for baby's bum. Cloth materials are way more natural. You have cotton, you have bamboo, you have hemp. These are all really absorbent materials. As long as the nappy is fitted on the baby properly, it can last just as long, if not longer, than a disposable. Also, cloth nappies are way more versatile because you can add layers in order to boost the absorbency. Rory is an incredibly heavy wetter, especially during the night, so what I do is I just put some extra pads in order to make the nappy way more absorbent, and he will last all night long in his nappy. And another myth that is kind of linked to that is that cloth nappies are way more likely to cause nappy rash on your baby than a disposable. These two myths are definitely linked together. As I said earlier, you just need to change your baby regularly in order to avoid nappy rash. When Rory was a newborn, we kind of did 50-50 with cloth and disposables, and I actually found that he was way more likely to have nappy rash when he was in a disposable nappy than when he was in cloth. Also, if my son does have a rash on his bottom, that isn't necessarily nappy rash, but is a rash, I just use coconut oil and it disappears within a day. Also, no chemicals. I think I kind of talked a little bit about 5 myths. If you have any questions and kind of want to talk about these myths a bit more, then please comment below or drop me an email, and I would love to kind of discuss it with you and just have this nice conversation. And yeah, hopefully next week I will have some more videos up about the different types of nappies and why they're so great, and yeah, just can't wait. Also, if you have any more myths that you've heard about, then I would love to hear them so that I can just carry on busting. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you really enjoyed it and found it a bit helpful. Bye for now!